jam! Hello again and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is episode 495 of the Mana Pool. Wow, really?
Seems that way.
Huh.
For some reason, now that it's within 5 of number 500, like Anyway, so, hello, I'm Chewy. Big numbers apparently frighten me, or at least give me pause. And these other dorks are here too. Dorks, how do you feel about big numbers?
I'm Brian, I'm the lead rambler. I am a tangent master. I fear big numbers. I married a CPA for a reason, so that I had to think about numbers as little as possible. And I watched the whole State of the Union address. Front to back, top to bottom.
I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy and the game lore guy. And due to the nature of my job, I've become completely jaded and unimpressed by large numbers, unless they're stupidly large. Like, I think someone made a mistake here large.
Like earlier when Brian said 30,000 packs of Hearthstone instead of 3,000.
Well, once you're over 300, does it even really matter anymore?
And I missed the State of the Union address because I was hanging out with Chewy recording a video.
Oh, was it that night?
It was.
We have better things to do than... Anyway, next.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And yeah, I'm here, and with regards to numbers, I kind of miss them. I kind of do. Except for grade books, I really don't deal a lot with numbers. I really miss throwing out math questions and be like, and saying things having to do with physics problems and chemistry problems, saying balance this equation. See if you can figure out how many carbons are on each side. And with regards to the State of the Union, I knew it was coming on, and even though it was a must-watch event, I found better things to do by... I was probably watching Magic School Bus with the kids. I don't know.
That is better and probably
more educational.
More educational.
more correct.
So, 495. Good lord. Okay, sorry. Like, Monday Night Magic is at almost 600, and that's fine because, like, just under half of those were not me. But this one's all... I've been here for all of these, and it's terrifying. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. Oddly enough, this episode is not about big numbers. This episode is brought to you by the number 37. So, this week, what we're going to
37?
do... There it was. This week, what we're going to do is a little thing that we call a Mythic Conscription. For those of you that have never joined us for one of these before, what we're doing is going back to old sets from before the existence of the Mythic rarity and trying to determine what, if any, sometimes it's hard, of the cards in that set would have been Mythic if Mythic was a thing. Right. There we go.
Right. And that definition there and our application of it is still a little floaty, and it always has been. So don't get too upset if we get off track with how we're interpreting something, because we probably don't notice that we're doing it.
And it's easier in some sets than others to stick to our preconceived ideas about what the Mythic rarity means, because we kind of want to reach a couple mythics in each set. Sometimes that means changing our standards.
I think I get the feeling that in sets with better cards, we might start evaluating things as what if it was printed today, and in sets with less good cards, we try to scrounge for reasons that it might have been considered mythic then.
I usually try to. My default is I've tried to be what would it be at the time, but sometimes it's really hard to do that, especially when you factor in things like nostalgia and you know what was the meaning of this card years later. Have we done antiquities yet?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
No.
Well, we're not doing antiquities today.
Yeah, I don't think we've done any of the sets that weren't part of a block.
Yeah, we did the dark.
Oh, we did the dark? Okay.
Yeah. I think
Oh,
that's
did
the
we
only
do
one.
Fallen Empires or not?
I don't think so.
I don't remember. I don't think we did.
Clearly, we are good at our jobs. And by jobs, I do not mean this, except for Chewy's case.
Hi. So this week, the last two Mythic Conscriptions we did Ice Age, and we did Alliances. And so obviously the next one to do is, well, there's a problem. Because originally, the final set, quote unquote, of the Ice Age block was Homelands.
Well, originally the middle set of the quote unquote block was Homelands.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Game Lore guy. But because Alliances came out late, it was weird. There was Ice Age, and then there was Homelands, and then there was a direct sequel to Ice Age.
Yeah, and that was the first one, because then the concept of a block didn't exist. Like, because Ice Age and Alliances ended up being designed and developed as related to one another, that's when the concept of the block first started. But Mirage Vision's Weatherlight was the first actual block.
Yeah. And even it's a little weird because Mirage and Visions are totally one thing, and then Weatherlight is the start of the next several years of Magic. So,
yeah,
whatever. It got weird, all right?
It is related to the previous sets in some way, but it's going off and doing its own thing already.
Yeah. Much like so many of the third sets in a block. But anyway, so yeah, originally Homelands was the other one that we haven't done yet. But then, and as a reminder, Homelands was released in October of 1995 and was my first new set.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Back when I first started playing, it was, revised in 4th edition and Ice Age and Fallen Empires were the boosters you could get. And then Homelands came out, and it was the first new set. But anyway, so that was October 95. Then, in July of 2006, Wizards of the Coast pulled a fast one, and not a very good one, on everyone and claimed to have found the final set of the Ice Age block in a filing cabinet when they moved buildings, because Wizards of the Coast moved across the street, and as they were cleaning stuff out, they found the old design file for the final set called Coldsnap. And they went with this story for like months, didn't they?
I don't know if it was months, but
I would say
long.
weeks before
weeks okay.
before people called them on the nonsense. Yeah, I mean it was months in internet time, but
oh yeah, it might be it. So yeah, in July 2006, Coldsnap was released, and we really couldn't figure out which one to do. Not really, I'm making that up. But I couldn't figure out which one to do, so I decided to do something brilliant. Let's do a Mythic Conscription for Homelands and Coldsnap, and that'll give us a chance to compare antiquated and more modern design trends and philosophies and whatnot.
Yeah, Coldsnap has some issues because it also has a bunch of purposeful callbacks to old design.
Yep. So that's what we're doing today. Sounds like fun? I thought it sounded like fun, and then I started looking at the sets.
Homelands has a rep for being, hands down, the worst set in Magic's history.
There were several members of the design and development teams that did not want to release it, but it was designed by a couple of Peter Atkinson's friends, and since he was the big boss and he wanted to keep his promise to his friends, he pushed it through.
I had not heard that.
And the developers did not spend very much effort working on it because they thought it was stupid.
Well, let's look at white and get this party started. So who has a mythic card in white?
Crickets.
The only one that I saw that I thought sort of fell into it was Truce.
Really? Okay. Really? What does Truce do?
So for two and a white, it's an instance. Each player may draw up to 2 cards. For each card less than 2 a player draws this way, that player gains 2 life. And the reason why I thought is that it allowed for each player to draw 2 cards.
In white.
In white. And that had the potential to, it's sort of a universal effect that everyone got to draw 2 cards.
Or gain two life or 4 life, respectively. I don't know. I mean, I looked at it.
I looked at the other ones, and that was the only one that actually struck me as this one could be mythic compared to the rest.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the old sets, I tried to maybe pick something that has a particularly unique or interesting effect. And yeah, Truce is unique because it's that instant speed card draw or whatever in white, but it's unique because it's like a bend or break of the color pie.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know wasn't as firmly established here as it was later, but still this is even weird for that time.
Yeah, I mean, the instant speed group hug card draw.
Well, I'm saying weird for the color pie.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, in terms of a neat or cool or impactful effect, I'm thinking either Leeches or Sarah Aviary might have been made mythic at the time.
Okay. How many things in Homelands gave poison counters?
I don't know.
Huh. That's a good question. I'm on it.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if it was 0.
I think it is 0, but I'm looking. Rules text: poison, not to be confused with poisson. That's fish.
I mean, we all know that R&D, and especially Mark Rosewater, who was not actually in R&D at the time of this set.
It is leeches, yeah.
Only they hate giving answers to poison. They feel like poison counters, you get 10 deaths into the game. So it's kind of a unique effect. But I might go with Sarah Aviary. Just because Leeches is so incredibly, phenomenally narrow. I could see it.
Yeah, and with the way poison worked at the time, who knows? It might not be worth it. Let's read Leeches. For 1 white as a sorcery, target player loses all poison counters. Leeches deals that much damage to that player. And since then, you had to get damaged by the thing to get poison counters.
Right.
So you took damage and you got poison. To be honest, Leeches sort of works better, like, aggressively. Like to kind of pretend all your poison creatures actually had more power than they said they did.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you hit someone with enough poison counters to, like, bring them to 5 life and 5 poison and then cast Leeches?
Yes.
Oh.
But I don't know.
That's kind of a terrifying...
That even seems extreme and not very good. But this is the only card that can take poison counters off of a player.
It's
very special.
I almost said mono white burn, but no, because you have to be playing green for the poison counters. Or black.
Mm-hmm.
See, now I agree with you in that history shows us, even when they brought Infect to Scars of Mirrodin, this is still literally the only card in Magic's history that removes poison counters. I get that, but it's in a set with no poison counters.
But there had been plenty printed before it in the in the core sets, in the Dark Legends. I think there was something in Ice Age. I can't remember.
I get that. I think the story it's going to be with a lot of this set is, I don't know if there are any like really hard sells. Sarah's Aviary, on the other hand, for 3 and a white, is an enchant world, and all creatures with flying get +1/+1. Yeah, I might actually give it to Leeches a little bit, just because. You can only have 1 enchant world out at a time, right?
Yeah, but anthems were especially hard to come by back then.
They were.
Except, there was Crusade, Bad Moon, something, Celestial Voices or Angelic Voices. I can't remember. And Legends. And those are the only things. Okay, and Sunken City.
Oh, yeah.
Really.
I get that. I'm struggling here. I really am.
I know.
Okay, here, I got it.
I just wanted to pick something.
I got it. We'll give it to Hasdur the Abbot. Because, so Hasdur the Abbot is a 2/5. You can pay X and tap him. Wait, let me read the Oracle text. You can pay X and tap him. The next X damage that would be dealt this turn to target white creature you control is dealt to Hasdur the Abbot instead. And he's this sweet little old man. And it's really disturbing because you're paying mana to torture him.
To go up and whack him in the face with a cane.
Yep.
He jumps in front of people and flexes and soaks up the damage.
He is a legend.
He flexes.
Legendarily known for stepping in front and taking it in the face for somebody.
He's like, I got this. You just step aside, Sonny. Let me handle this. Back in my day.
See, I'm picturing the barbarian at the tavern, and he's just like, yeah, and a goblin charged me, and then this crazy old man jumped in front of me. That crazy old man took a goblin spear for me.
This is how bad this set is, you guys.
I don't know. A goblin spear is like 2 damage, 3 damage max. That means he lived through it. That's awesome.
Hey, we got a badass over here.
So I got a question.
Uh-huh.
How many creatures are heroes? And I don't mean that in a Hearthstone way. I mean, like, literally the creature type hero.
I think there were very few at the time Ace and Crusader was printed, but it's been it's had his Oracle text updated to say soldiers and warriors.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's what I get for looking at the printed card.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you look over at Beastwalkers, they're heroes, even though they're clearly not heroes.
Yeah, I found it weird.
The knowledge hero was the hero. I think they just took the few creatures that have the hero type. They probably just changed them all in either soldiers or warriors, and that's why Ace and Crusader got updated to say that.
Okay. I just found it weird that it doesn't count itself because it's a Crusader. Although now it's now a human knight. But at the time it was printed, okay. Here I'm going to read the actual printed text. For 2 and 2 white, it is a summon Crusader, and it has a power and toughness of 2+ and 2+ with stars. And its power and toughness are each equal to 2, plus the number of heroes you control. And I'm like, that is such a weird creature type. And the fact that it's not even a hero itself just makes me sad. Just makes me very sad. Now, you can't be having any 3/3s for 4 running around in Homelands. That'd be broken. But,
Actually, yeah, it would.
Yeah. But that's just weird. And it's not at all mythic. So we've got what?
I'm all for Ace and Highway. For 6 mana, it's an enchantment. All white creatures gain Planeswalk. Not the kinds you're thinking. Planes like the basic land. Planeswalk.
Yeah.
But it's all white creatures, which means if your opponent is affected by this, that means you're affected by this.
And Chewy, how many white mana symbols are in?
Oh, yeah, and it's 3 and 3 white.
Chances of you playing this without having a planes. Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, for a minute there, I was like, maybe this one that I thought about. I'm like, no. So basically, it's between the Abbot, Leeches, the Aviary, and Truce.
No, not the Abbot.
Okay.
I just really wanted to talk about an old man getting beaten for some reason. I have a problem.
That does sort of encapsulate this set of here's sort of how this set rolls.
Yeah,
an old man who jumps out in front of something and takes it to the face,
or leeches. So it is also worth noting, this set, if I remember correctly, didn't actually have rares.
Yeah, sort of. This was one of the ones where, like, the quote-unquote rares were just the things that were only printed once on the uncommon sheet.
Yeah, like, it had, what, U3s and U1s?
Yeah, U3s and U1s.
Yeah, so the uncommon sheet had 3 copies of a thing and then 1 copy of a thing.
Yeah, and there were several early small sets that were printed that way. There wasn't a separate rare sheet.
Yeah. Very strange.
Yeah.
Mm. So shall we move on from white then?
Yeah, let's get away from that.
Yeah, something else to keep in mind, especially with some of the awkward stuff we pointed out already. In terms of like engaging flavorful designs, Homelands is amazing. It has some really cool stuff in there, like just thinking about the flavor of what the cards mean and how they were put together, and what all the different pieces of nonsense really mean in terms of what you're looking at. But it makes for some kind of dumb executions.
Yeah, like
unfortunately,
the flavor of Truce and Leeches are both really good.
Yeah,
but the cards themselves,
mm-hmm.
from a gameplay perspective, are kind of
yeah. And you can see the concept that they were going for with Ace and Crusader. And it's a really cool concept.
Yeah,
but the execution is just kind of dumpy. Better now that the creature types have been updated, but
yeah. Like creature type, Soraya the Falconer has a line of text that says all falcons get +1/+1. At the time, there was 1 falcon in this set. Wait, in this set, was it just the Mesa Falcon? I think so.
I think so.
And then 1 other falcon in the game that was blue.
Legends, yeah.
I mean, it was a 1/1 with Vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it for falcons. So Soraya the Falconer was miserable. And for a long time, she was basically worthless. And then, like, they changed her since they don't support... At some point, they decided falcons weren't going to be a supported creature type, so they changed her to say birds. And she got way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, damn. But anyway, okay, so blue.
Blue, to me, was actually much, much, much easier than white.
Sure.
I think, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. There are a couple that are more standout than white.
Marjan. Marjan, thank you.
I love Marjan.
Well, yeah. For, here we go. I'm going to do the Oracle text this time.
Good call.
Yeah. A 5 and 2 blue, it is a serpent. And it is an 8/8. So it's 8/8 for 7 mana. What? It doesn't untap during your untap step. Okay. You can pay 2 blue and sacrifice a creature to untap it. Activate this ability only during your upkeep. So no, like, shenanigans, like, I'm going to untap during your turn. It can't attack unless the defending player controls an island, so it's got quote-unquote island home. And finally, pay 2 blue, Marjan gets -1/-0 until end of turn and deals 1 damage to target attacking creature without flying.
Oh, no. Hey, listeners, I'm very sorry.
Problems?
I didn't turn off the Streamlabs, and so the sound that listeners just heard was a subscription. Somebody literally just subscribed to my Twitch channel. That's the paid thing, or actually, I think it was with Twitch Prime. But still, that literally just happened while we were recording the podcast, which, of all the things that I expected to happen, a subscription was not one of them. Lord have mercy. Professional podcasters here.
Here we go. Okay. So, again, that last activated ability was pay 2 blue. Marjan gets -1/-0 until the turn, deals 1 damage to target attacking creature without flying. So it just kind of like sheds a little bit of itself, but pings.
It shoots one of its teeth out at what's attacking it.
Oh, hey, that actually makes some sense.
And then finally, when you control no island, sacrifice Marjan. This one to me actually feels fairly mythic. It is giant/giant, especially at the time. That's huge. It's very, very wordy, which does not make it mythic by itself, but anything that is this complicated, and yes, I would say all these words added up together make it fairly complicated, deserves, to be a little higher up on the rarity list. There's a reason why most vanilla creatures are common. And then, so big, it's splashy, it's flavorful. I love how in the picture, the Marjan is getting ready to eat a whale. A whale. Hello. Sorry.
What the hell was that about?
That was a Finding Nemo type thing. Done very poorly. So anyway, I think it's mythic. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd be willing to put Marjan up there.
Yeah. It was on my list.
Yeah,
Excellent.
For the bigness and coolness factors.
I didn't think this one was a very controversial pick. After white, blue was kind of like,
I put down Forget as mine.
Why?
Because I feel like it can be abused. So for 2 blue, it's a sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards, then draws as many cards as he or she discarded this way. So if you have more than 2 cards in your hand and you cast this, well, after you cast it, then I feel like you can actually stack your deck. You could just burn through your deck until you get the cards you want.
No, Dark, I think you're not understanding what this does. You discard 2 cards, then you draw cards equal to the number you just discarded. So, for example...
So you can only do it once?
Correct. It doesn't say, then you may repeat this.
The reason it says that is because if you target someone that only has 1 card in their hand, then they just draw 1 card after they discard.
Right.
Gotcha.
Or if Forget is the last card in your hand, and you cast it targeting yourself, you're not actually going to draw any.
Okay.
I see where...
It's a weird... Yeah, that was sort of this... It's a little... I've not had as much sleep as I probably should have. So
That's okay.
In my head, this is what it felt like it could be abused in that manner, so I'll go ahead and withdraw Forget.
If it was... Dude, if it worked the way you think, where you're like, drop 2 cards, then draw up to the number... discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards, then repeat this process as often as you like, that would be... for 2 blue,
definitely be mythic.
That would have to be cost like 12, because it basically says how many cards do you want to draw.
It'd basically be demonic consultation, except you don't have to exile anything.
Yeah. Dirk, I love you.
I'd play that card.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I forgot a lot of things, but I found these things in its place.
We should totally do a segment one time where we take Homelands cards and make them ridiculous.
Make them better.
Well, I mean, better would be is not hard. Making them ridiculous is a little harder.
Lord. So, did we have anything else in blue? I sort of looked at Mystic Decree.
Yeah.
Just because of its...
Because it's another world enchantment.
Well, I see where he's coming from.
I didn't even notice that.
I see where he's coming from, because comparing it to Sarah's Aviary, that's kind of okay. Sarah's Aviary, the anthem effect for flying creatures. I get that, but Mystic Decree literally changes the way that the game works, especially if it affects more than 2 creatures, and that can be pretty big. I'm kind of with Chewy where I feel like it's a question mark at least.
Yeah, like if Marjan wasn't there, I think we'd have to look real hard at Mystic Decree.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or change stasis, but...
I'd like to suggest Rebecca, Wizard Savant.
Okay.
For 2 blue, it's 0/1 Dwarf Wizard. Legendary Dwarf Wizard.
Huh.
And it has an ability, tap. Rebecca deals 2 damage to target creature or player and doesn't untap during your next untap step. And the reason I point that out is because it's an activated ability that can hand out 2 damage at once, which is a big difference from something that can only do 1 at a time.
It's true.
Even though you have to wait for another turn to use it, still this can kill this opens up a whole huge new set of creatures that you can use to kill with this.
It can kill narwhals.
It can, which is sad. But
dude, and they're swimming in the ocean, causing a commotion, because they're so awesome.
So I hear.
It's taking every fiber of my being to not sing that, by the way.
Yeah. For a long time, my brother has insisted that he doesn't think narwhals are real, and I have never been able to tell whether he's being sincere or messing with me.
It's a whale unicorn.
Yeah.
You know? What doesn't sound made up about that? Yeah, I could see Rebecca or Mystic Decree, but again, you know, with Marjan there is kind of eating everything else up. But blue at least has some contenders. What about black? Other than, should we just? I mean, you know, hello, the first card, kind of emblematic of the set and the story.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, is a decent card.
Yeah, and the mystery of Olivia Voldaren.
I hate you. So yeah, we're talking about Baron Singer himself.
The Baron.
Who is, I think if you say the Baron to anybody that's been playing Magic for a long time, they know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so Baron Singer for 5 and 3 black is a legendary creature vampire. I just wanted to make sure they didn't add anything else. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Baron Singer this turn dies, put a +2/+2 counter on Baron Singer. Because, you see, the Singer Vampire, he's the, I guess, the boss. So he has double it. And he also has the ability tap, regenerate another target vampire. And I remember, for the longest time, can Baron Singer tap to regenerate himself? Was a major question. Because he's clearly a vampire. Yeah. But he's not a vampire in the rules at the time. Because otherwise it would say counts as a vampire.
Yeah, at the time, the most... they would only put one creature type on a type line at most. And legend, instead of being a super type, was a creature subtype.
Mm-hmm.
So if something was a legend, that was the only type it got. There were some things that said in their text box counts as a such and such, but Baron Singer wasn't one of them.
Yep. And even in the rulings from 2007, it says, although Baron Singer is now a vampire, it still can't regenerate itself. So, yeah. I mean, just because he was the biggest, baddest breaker of them all, and he was the face of the set, well, he and this green card down here were the face of the set, like, the whole thing revolves around him pretty much, doesn't it? I don't actually know the story.
Yeah, he's a major character in the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
He and his minions.
He's pretty much got to be a mythic.
Yeah. And even when I started to recognize that maybe he wasn't all that good, I still wanted one. Because he's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's out of the way. What else do we have?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's not as inundated as blue, but there's still some other cool cards here. I really kind of like Grandmother Singir. For 4 and a black and Oracle text. For 4 and a black, it's a legendary human wizard, not a vampire. And it's a 3/3, and it has the ability to pay 1 and a black and tap her. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So kind of an interesting take on pinging, where the reduction in power and toughness may matter for combat purposes, and it's a very black way of doing pinging, but you didn't see a whole lot of that, I don't think, at least not repeatable like this. And again, it's flavorful, and the art is super creepy. Whew.
Yeah, Pete Venters had a blast with this one, I think.
I mean, the Baron is impressive. And in the art, he looks all regal and stuff, but he doesn't, like, scare the bejesus out of me. But I'm just like, ah. Don't invite her home to dinner.
Yeah.
Do I think she could be mythic? I'm not sure, but she was definitely one that I was kind of like, maybe.
It's a cool and fancy ability that nothing else really has.
But it's not as cool as the Baron. So
Yeah.
kind of like the Marjan. Everything else, I think, we have other cards to talk about. I think there's some interesting stuff here, but really, nothing else is going to come close.
I actually looked real hard at this on Shade because it's for 3 and 3 black. It's a 5/5. It's a 5/5 for 6. Remember, that's not unimportant back then. Wait, he was an uncommon?
Yeah, he and the Sengir Autocrat were actually uncommons in this set, but they were printed at rare in other sets.
A 5/5 for 6 that I didn't even finish. He's a 5/5 for 6 that has protection from white.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a Shade Knight now. A knight because, well, look at him, and Shade because it's in his name, so.
Yeah.
Wow. That was printed at uncommon? That's insane.
That's why everyone actually had one or two of these.
But, like, the reason that I was thinking of this guy is because the Pro White is massive because he doesn't die to Terror, Dark Banishing, or Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah, or Lightning Bolt because he's so big.
Or Lightning Bolt. Like, he gets around everything but Boomerang and Counterspells.
He's a big, beefy Black Knight, is basically what he is.
Yeah.
And I mean, people would play him with a straight face.
So I think that's why I actually didn't consider him, is simply because I'm like, well, this effect, we've seen this before. Now, you don't really see much in the way of Pro White. You don't see much protection at all, but White is probably one of the least used protections. But I again, everything's colored by the Baron. But even still, I'm like, I like it. I think it's cool, but I don't know.
I did not. Wow. It's an uncommon. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a couple of legends at uncommon, like Irene Sengir. She was also uncommon.
Yeah, but I mean...
But her ability was astonishingly narrow.
Yeah. But I'm just, like, looking at his size and utility. Like, he's a 5/5 for 6, which in black. Again, this is in 90... What did I say? 95?
Yes.
Yeah. That's like that takes the vanilla test and beats it to death.
Yeah, no, he was on the good end of creatures at the time.
Wow.
He was definitely the good end of the spectrum.
And he was uncommon. I am blown away. That makes my head hurt. Okay. Should we go to red then? Like, that has completely rocked my world. I got nothing.
Do we have to?
It's next in color order, so I have to scroll past it eventually.
Dwarven Pony. I don't know, man. Kind of like White. I looked at every single one of these, and I'm like, no.
I wonder if they would have done Heartwolf as a joke, because Heartwolf is kind of, if I'm remembering correctly, Heartwolf is a reference to this made-up card that people would...
The Throat Wolf?
Yeah, the Throat Wolf.
Oh my god, I remember the Throat Wolf.
Yeah, that people would talk about in like troll new players with on like Usenet forums and whatever, about this card with all these amazing abilities that, would change depending on who was telling the story, that didn't actually exist. I'm pretty sure Heartwolf is a reference to that.
Huh. Yeah, I have no idea. It's a terrible card.
So you've got 3 cards that care about dwarves, 2 cards that care about minotaurs, a hate card, a flip a coin card that will either deal 1 damage to everything or draw a card
for each player.
For each player, and then a card that turns something into an Iron Claw Orc.
I never did understand Iron Claw Curse.
Red rares.
Red rares. Oh, wait. The Dwarven Sea Clan doesn't actually care about dwarves. It just is a dwarf. So you know what? This is my pick for Mythic.
Come on.
Dwarven Sea Clan for 2 and a red. It's a 1/1.
Yeah, what is it?
Dwarf.
Okay.
Not dwarf ship or anything.
No, they got rid of the ship creature type.
Oh,
right?
that makes me sad. Tap. Choose target attacking or blocking creature whose controller controls an island. Wow, that's the Oracle text. Whose controller controls an island. Dwarven Seed Clan deals 2 damage to that creature at end of combat. Activate this ability only before the end of combat step. I got nothing here. I'm kind of silly, but in all seriousness, if we have to pick one, it's got to be the Ruins, right? I mean,
that's what I was thinking. The Anzarin Ruins is actually good, and I know that isn't what we're supposed to be. Yeah, and I know we're not supposed to be using that metric to evaluate Mythic, but still.
But dude, these are so bad that you have to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the Anzarin Ruins for 2 red. It's enchantment. Choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type do not untap during their controller's untap step.
That's a pretty big hate card.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also surprised it's not an enchant world.
Yeah, it's just a regular enchantment.
Yeah, there's an enchant world in each of the other 3 colors that we've hit thus far.
Yeah.
Well, doing it this way actually allows you to play multiple copies and shut down, more than one try.
Oh, you can shut down dwarves and minotaurs. What?
And ships. If you really want.
Okay, then.
Okay.
So green?
To green.
Because green's easy, because there's one that's obvious.
Yes.
And that's Autumn Willow.
Yes.
Autumn Willow, if I remember correctly, is the first example of Shroud, right?
Yeah, and to a lesser extent, the first example of Troll Shroud as well.
That's true. So
or Hexproof, rather.
For 4
Troll
green,
Shroud.
Troll Shroud. For 4 green, she's a 4/4 avatar. That's new. She has Shroud, although at the time, all it said was cannot be the target of spells or effects. And for a single green, until end of turn, Autumn Willow can be the target of spells and abilities controlled by target player, as though it didn't have Shroud. So you could actually pay a green mana and say, target player, me, can target Autumn Willow and put things on her. And then, but because it's target player, she was always safe from your opponent's shenanigans as long as they were targeted. So, yeah, she is just a powerhouse because of that.
How are they supposed to deal with her? You can't. Not really. Not without a wrath.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ability to go, oh, look, can target giant growth or whatever, regenerate. What? Yeah. I'm with Chewy. Autumn Willow all the way.
Autumn Willow. I agree with Autumn Willow.
Sure.
Why does she look younger than her daughter?
Because she's an avatar.
What's the daughter? Let's see. What's the daughter's
So's the daughter. Type? Never mind.
Oh, they're avatars too? Huh. I don't know.
Different. Nope.
She uses those fancy skincare products.
Oh, yeah.
Harvested from the trees. Dirk, what do you think?
I'll go with her.
Yeah, but as a card, what do you think?
Yeah.
That joke was a bit of a stretch.
That was kind of bad.
Yeah.
Basically, all the other options are either dumb or lame or Primal Order.
Primal Order is the one I had looked at and was on my list.
Yeah.
Because that could be wow.
Yeah, what's that do, Dirk?
So for 2 and 2 green, it's an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, Primal Order deals damage to that player equal to the number of non-basic lands he or she controls.
Yeah, get a hold of this and put it in a commander deck and watch your opponents die.
And watch go, take 9. Yes. Mono green burn.
Mm-hmm. I honestly could see this being played, and it would have to go in my decks because I don't play with a whole lot of different lands, but I could definitely see me playing this and saying Mike go, and then Mike just staring at me with daggers o' death in his eyes, going, "Dang it!" and taking 9 right to the face.
Yeah, I was just about to say, untap, take 11, draw.
And then as Chewie's turn, and Chewie just goes, dang it. Chewie takes 9 or 10.
Yeah, the funny thing is, though, is that Mike would play another non-basic before he ended his turn.
I would. We're not joking about that.
No, that's not even funny. So, all right, Autumn Willow and Primal Order, yeah, the rest are kind of dumb, like Mammoth Harness that gives creature last strike. Wait,
Badgers.
What's it called in
What?
What's it called in Unstable? Is it last strike?
It's last strike.
Last strike.
Yeah, loses flying, gets last strike.
Yeah, that's before it was a thing. I think Bill kept calling it worst strike, and I kept wanting to punch Bill because that's way better. But
that sounds like something I would say too.
Yeah, Mammoth Harness is actually the first, to my knowledge, the first appearance of last strike, even though it doesn't actually say last strike. Oh wait, no, it would be the stupid slime thing, right? Or
Spitting slug.
Slug, yeah, the slug was first, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was from Legends.
Well, damn. Second appearance of last strike.
The slug was first. How often do you think you're going to say that?
And yeah, there is a badger, and he's adorable. Look at him. Badger. He's got a skull.
He looks like he's poking the skull, too.
Looks like he's playing it like a drum.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This is
Right
how bad
then.
this set is. We're talking about the art on Rosaurian Badger.
Well,
So,
we're almost done.
What about these other three?
Apocalypse. Chime now. Apocalypse Chime.
I swear, Moltar, are you alright? Apocalypse.
You don't even want to hear me try and pronounce the next artifact. So.
Like,
The
would Apocalypse
Chime.
Chime be a mythic?
I had
'Cause
it on
it's-
my list.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah,
I think
it would
would.
have to be.
For 2 mana, it's an artifact. Pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice it. Destroy all non-token permanents with a name originally printed in the Homelands expansion. They can't be regenerated. Basically, everything from this set goes bye-bye. And I know that usually we don't do sweepers at Mythic, but this is colorless, and in a draft situation or one where you can actually expect this to hit more than one thing, it's going to be a huge effect. Just huge.
Yeah. Like, this is one of the original things that designers and developers had in their toolbox to put into a set just in case things got out of control.
Yeah.
So you have City in a Bottle, Golgothian Silex, and Apocalypse Chime.
Those were the only 3 of those, right?
Yes, they were.
Thank goodness. So the Silex was Antiquities.
City in a Bottle was
Arabian Nights.
Mm-hmm.
And then Apocalypse Chime is Homelands, and they were like, this is really stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I guess after Antiquities, they were already kind of like, this is really stupid. But Arena of the Ancients was in Legends, but that just locked down legendary creatures.
Apocalypse Chime can kill Autumn Willow.
So then we have Didgeridoo, which is I don't think this is mythic at all. Back in the day, when you were trying to find one for your Minotaur tribal deck, it felt mythic. Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
But this is, for 1 mana, it's an artifact.
Like an actual myth told by a mysterious old man.
Except I knew it was real, I just couldn't ever find it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Bigfoot or a girlfriend. So for 1 mana, it's an artifact, and you can pay 3. Oh wow!
It doesn't even require a tap.
Well, no, the Oracle text is, you may put a Minotaur permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. Like, it just, that doesn't feel right. I like the original printed text, though. Take a Minotaur from your hand and put it directly into play as though it were just summoned.
I don't know. The Oracle text sounds better to me. The printed text sounds so unconsensual.
Bossy.
Take that card. Yeah.
Hurry up.
Get down there. Not a mythic.
So not a mythic.
I mean, if there were decent Minotaurs at the time, then yeah. Now, I mean, could you imagine printing that in Theros?
Eh.
I remember that didgeridoo suddenly got very, very popular when Theros started getting previewed.
It's a shame that Angrath isn't a Minotaur. But then we have Faraz's ban.
This was a second place to me, but Apocalypse Chime is still way ahead.
Yeah. Well, what's the ban do?
For 6 mana, it's an artifact. Creature spells cost 2 more to cast. For everybody. And I even figured out the Oracle text without looking at it. Look at that.
Nice.
It's a fairly powerful effect, especially for a control deck, but it costs 6 mana, so it feels pretty fair.
Yeah, I think it's highly obnoxious and very powerful, but I don't know if it's really mythic just due to its
right.
Like,
but Brian, what if it costs 2 more?
That'd be even worse. I realize you're talking about the summon spells.
I know.
Or the creature spells, as we call them nowadays. So, that was Homeland.
Back in my day, we called them summons. Shut up, hamster. What?
I was gonna say, what a dumpster fire.
What a dumpster fire. So, yeah, as you can tell, we had a hard time finding cards that even felt mythic.
Yeah. As you can tell, the cards are all kind of pointing in different directions. There's very few that have like real mechanical connections to anything else yet. Except for like 2 that we didn't talk about. The Anabai Ancestor and the Anabai Spirit Crafter are also tied into a small Minotaur tribal theme that appeared in Homelands.
Like very small.
Yeah.
Like maybe 6-7 cards total?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, there's nothing relating to Marjan anywhere in the set.
Nope.
So then let us go to Coldsnap, which actually takes place back on Dominaria during the Ice Age.
Well, technically it's at the end of the Ice Age, and the Ice Age is starting to be resolved because of Frey release.
Wow.
Frere Jacques.
Dorme Vu.
Freyalise cast the world spell.
There you go.
And the ice is starting to melt, but the Rhymewind Master Haidar was like, no, let's not do that yet, and was trying to use his magic to keep the Ice Age going because I guess he likes ice and snow.
Yeah, dude. Once again, the world will be sharp, white, perfect. Wow.
Wow. That's... I hadn't read his flavor text in a while.
That's a little too topical. Let's just not touch that.
Make Dominaria great again?
He's the villain. Anyway, so let's go to white, where we've got cards that are actually neat and interesting. They're very fine cards on both sides.
Yes.
Oh
man! Okay. We're gonna have to let this go eventually.
We've got we've got cards that are actually
Chewy for Unity. So I'm sorry.
We've got cards that are actually like interesting and neat and powerful and mechanically work with each other.
Yeah.
So like I looked at both of these, and also silly Razorback. So I looked at these back to back, just like we're doing on the show. Yeah. And it was, mind you, there are 10.5 years between the release of these two sets.
And it made a difference.
It made a difference, but it was like getting smacked in the face, going from Homelands to Coldsnap, like a refreshing, cold breeze, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just as Alliances was designed to purposefully be connected thematically and mechanically with Ice Age, so was Coldsnap to be purposefully thematically and mechanically connected to both of them. So you actually get themes in the cards.
Hey, there were cards that cared about dwarfs and Homelands, let's say.
There certainly were.
See? Themes. All right, so what do we have in white?
I had two, I think, fairly strong ones.
Okay, wait, let me guess. You had the Angel and Darien.
You are correct, sir.
Yep.
Which ones did you have?
I had the Angel for sure, and then I stared at the rest for a while, going,
I think the Angels is a slam dunk. But I think Darien has the potential, too. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I picked the Angel, and then I wondered about the pitch spell cycle.
I wonder,
But
should
Darien
we
Darien
knock
could be
the
a
pitch
solid
spells
pick.
out first?
Yeah, let's talk about
Like
that.
we did in Alliances?
Alliances.
Well, real quick, but since we've asked everybody else, hey, Dirk, what did you have in white?
I had Darien as the primary, with the Angel being the secondary, like a very close second.
So everybody had the Angel on their list.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, well, why don't we do the pitch spells real quick?
So yeah, there was another cycle of pitch spells in Coldsnap as a callback to Alliances, because you remember we had, well, obviously the most famous one is Force of Will, but there was one in every color, and it was the first time that pitch spells were a thing.
Yeah.
So they
the one in black wasn't terrible. Contagion or
Contagion's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just not Force of Will, so
Yeah. So they wanted to do a callback to those, but make them, because we determined on the previous show that the pitch spells were perfectly fine at uncommon where they lived, except for maybe Force of Will with some hindsight.
right.
So they wanted to make these bigger and beefier, and well, they didn't have Mythic at the time, so bigger and beefier and rare. So now each one has you exile 2 cards of the proper color from your hand, rather than pay the cost.
And keep in mind, you still have to also play the spell, so it's 3 cards from your hand, the spell itself, and then 2 cards exiled.
Yeah, if you don't want to pay the mana.
If you don't want to pay the mana.
And otherwise, all of them cost 5 CC, 5 and 2 of their color.
Yep.
So it's either 7 mana or ditch 2 other cards.
You know, for some reason I missed that.
For example, Sun Scour is in white, and it costs 5 and 2 white. It's a sorcery. You may remove...
Yeah, you don't
This is
actually have to
more
read
ma-
that. We just covered that.
Okay. All right. Destroy all creatures.
There you go.
It's a Wrath of God that doesn't account for... It doesn't say they can't be regenerated, but this was around the time that Wizards was starting to say, we want regeneration to matter. Now they don't really want regeneration to matter a whole lot, but there was a time where they felt like they were putting can't be regenerated on everything, so regeneration didn't even do anything.
Yeah,
It's a sweeper.
Regeneration was a combat trick.
Yeah. So this is a sweeper. Creature sweeper. Boom.
And it's weird. Like, ideally, if you're gonna destroy the world, you know you're gonna do it, so you don't play as many creatures, so you have more in your hand for after you destroy the world.
Right.
But pitching 2 white cards sort of counteracts that.
Yeah, it's not as much card advantage. When you're losing 1 creature to a Wrath and the other person is losing 4, you feel great. When you're having to lose that 1 and 2 other cards from your hand, ugh. And I think it's safe to say we're evaluating these with the potential. Of course, you can always pay the confirmed mana cost, or pay the mana cost, but it's the potential to do this for quote unquote free that really makes these interesting.
Yeah.
So before anybody says, well, you can always just play, of course you can always just cast it. The point is, how's this look with the pitch aspect?
Yeah, and it costs 7, so that's almost twice what you should quote unquote be paying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, or at least it's 2 more.
I think this one is
These
fine.
days.
I think this one is fine at rare.
Yeah.
Now, this may not be a symmetrical cycle. We may get to another one that we feel, oh yeah, that could be mythic. But I think Sun Scour is fine at rare.
Yeah, notice when we went over what we all had in white, nobody said Sunscour.
Mhm.
So, yep.
I said I was
Mike
thinking
did.
about this.
Mike did.
I was the only one who said it.
Oh, well, no one that
Mike-
matters said it then.
There you go. Thank you.
Oh,
Excuse me, Mike.
Just
I
so-
forgot that you said that.
just so we're all clear.
That's why we even started talking about it.
It's true.
It is. Oh, it is.
Mike, your contributions mean the world to us.
I was distracted by your glorious beard.
So let's keep going.
So
What
the
about
blue one.
Yeah, the blue one. The blue pitch spell.
The blue.
Yeah, the blue one is
Yeah, go for it.
Commandeer. Oh, were you about to do it?
Nah.
Blue one is Commandeer. It's an instant. And its effect is gain control of target non-creature spell. You may choose new targets for it. And there's a reminder text that if it's an artifact or enchantment or a planeswalker, then the target will enter the battlefield under your control.
See, this to me is interesting. It's a lot more interesting than Sunscour simply because it's a control magic. It's a mind control, but for a spell. And that spell can still be a creature, but
No, non-creature.
oh, is it non-creature? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's the only thing you can't get.
I was thinking, it can still be a permanent.
Mhm.
Non-creature, non-land permanent. So this one I had more as a question. Now we'll get back to this later, but I felt blue kind of like in Homelands actually had several to choose from. So I was kind of at a bit of a loss here. The fact that, yes, it's awesome, but it's only one spell. Not that isn't great, but it is limited to that one time. I don't know. I'm on the fence. Somebody else talk. I'm done talking.
Well, yeah, you just get one thing, but you're not just taking a thing from your opponent. You're also getting a thing. So it's kind of, like how
Yeah.
you mentioned control magic. Shut up.
No.
You mentioned
I
control
agree with Mike.
magic. You mentioned control magic earlier. Control magic isn't just a removal spell. Control magic is a removal spell and a creature spell. It's awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
And Commandeer has that angle too.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are only affecting one thing, but it's not true that you're only getting one card.
And I do think this is powerful because it's an instant, and the ability for me, the pitching of the two cards is not as detrimental as Sunscour, because even though it's still basically the same cost, the fact that you can do this at any time really means you're never really tapped out, as long as you have two things to throw away.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think maybe. What do you think, Chewy?
How many cards have been printed that actually do something like this? Like there was Spelljack.
Desertion.
There was something more recent, wasn't there?
There was something more recent.
But I can't remember what it's called or even what set it's from.
Was it something in a commander set? Or conspiracy or something?
Maybe, and that might be why I can't remember it, is because it was a supplemental thing. Oh, wait a minute, I've actually still got Commander 17.
There was also a spell from original Zendikar block that I think you can make things enter the battlefield under your control, but it might not have gained control of the spell itself. I don't remember.
Well,
I remember that it cost like 3 blue, and the art was like an owl getting all up in your face.
What, Blatant Thievery? No,
not blatant thievery. I might be thinking of the wrong thing.
Yeah. But, like, the point is, this is an especially rare thing.
Yes.
As far as the effect. And the fact that you can get it for free, quote unquote, is also pretty huge.
Yeah.
But again, the question is it mythic? I don't know. I think this is one that could go either way.
Yeah. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah? Dirk, any opinion? All right, then.
Well, what about the black one, then?
Yeah, what about it? Soul Spike. Cost 7, pitch 2 cards. Soul Spike deals 4 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 4 life.
Not a mythic.
Yeah.
Not mythic.
No.
No.
I mean, yeah, it's a big chunk of damage that can come out of nowhere, but it's not quite
the ability is powerful. It may not look like it, but to go once again out of nowhere, oh, you're at 7 life. Here's some attacks. Now you're at 4 or 3 life, and but you think you're stable, and the game is just over. But really, no, it's not Mythic.
This is something I didn't really notice until just now. Is that Lavisa Cold Eyes getting killed, or is it some more different barbarian?
I think it's Lavisa, because she died in the story. So.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Oh, yes. Must watch out for those 10, 11-year-old, 12-year-old spoilers. That's definitely her axe. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is her axe.
And she died in the story.
She's just below here. So, yeah, that's probably her.
Yeah.
Well, that's sad. So, okay, the red one?
The red one is Fury of the Horde.
For the Horde!
Its effect is Relentless Assault. Untap all creatures that attack this turn. After this main phase, there's an additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase.
Yeah, Relentless Assaults are, generally speaking, rare. You don't want them, but uncommon. But I don't know that we've really seen many at Mythic either.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
And this is kind of funny in that, much like the green one we'll get to in a little bit, the longer in the game, the later in the game you play this, aka the closer you get to actually paying the mana cost for it, usually the bigger the effect is, because you're in theory going to have more things out. You're not going to, like, turn 1, play a Raging Goblin, turn 2, oh, pitch 2 spells so I can attack again, so.
But mostly he just raged.
Yeah.
So, hey, Dirk,
but then he gets to rage twice.
Oh. So, hey, Dirk, what's the green one?
So the green one... let me see.
It's the first one.
That's the very first one?
It was the pre-release card.
It was.
Really?
It was. Yeah.
I'd completely forgotten that was... So, Allosaur Rider, for 5 and 2 green, may exile 2 green cards from your hand rather than play the rider's mana cost. Power and toughness is each equal to 1 plus the number of lands you control.
Yeah, and he's an elf warrior because it's the rider, not the actual Allosaurus.
Yeah.
And again, much like the red one, you can pitch green cards and get them out there turn 1, and you've got a 2/2.
Woohoo!
And I mean, if you want to start attacking with them right away, 2/2 that becomes a 3/3, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy aggressive play because you can also play something. You can also play some other 1-drop on turn 1.
Correct. But then you are very much all in, because let's say you put down a land, you've ditched 2 spells, and you've played this guy and you've played something else. That's 5 cards. 5 cards. If you're on the play, you got 2 cards in your hand left, assuming you didn't mulligan. Now I like this card. I had this card in a land drops matter deck with like Vinelash or Kudzu. So I love him, but he's very, very solidly rare to me. Just, it's a creature and it gets bigger. It doesn't have any other built-in abilities. It can be efficient, it can be aggro, but I don't think it's doing anything other than being a really nice rare here.
I remember that deck that you're talking about. I remember at the Time Spiral pre-release, after I had got mad and had that little mini rant, we sat down and played a game, and you handed me that deck to play, and it made me feel better because the deck was so crazy and awesome.
I seem to recall that, yeah.
So I was like attacking you for 5 on turn 2, and I was laughing with joy, and you were like,
Glad you feel better, Mike.
Yeah.
Glad you feel better. Okay, so what do we want to say about the pitch spells? I really think that all but the blue one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting mechanic. It is. All but the blue one are clearly rare, and the blue one can go either way. It would be a very good rare, and it would be a decent mythic, but...
Yeah, and maybe if the mythic rarity existed, they would have done something different with some of these to make them mythic.
Yes. Soul Spike could be something very, very different.
Yeah. Yeah, it might have a 5 on there. Who knows?
Or 4 damage to target creature or player, you gain 4 life. It's a creature's controller or that player discards a card. You draw a card. Kind of make it into like half of a cruel ultimatum.
Yeah. Mean ultimatum.
Mean ultimatum. I like
Rude
that.
ultimatum.
Slightly churlish ultimatum. So, let's go back to white then. We were talking about the angel, which I think everybody agreed on, and at least Dirk and I were like, Darian, he's cool.
Yeah. Because Darian, I mean...
What's he do?
So, for 4 and 2 white, he's a 3/3 legendary creature, human soldier. Whenever you're dealt damage, you may put that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. You may create that many. So, if you get dealt damage, your army, you grow an army. And I think he's mythic because he is one where he can create a lot of dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a deck that has life gain, then you're just gonna say, "Okay, come at me, bro," and you're gonna take the damage and you're gonna build an army, and then just get the life back. And if not, he creates a dynamic of, all right, I'll take, I'm going to block this stuff. I'm going to take 2. I'm going to get 2 1/1s, and now I have some blockers for something big or something like that. That he has the ability to sort of create blockers to defend him, and defend you, like in terms of your life total and everything. And that's sort of the thing I like about him, is that he's not huge, but he can create an army for you if you use him right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think he would be considered mythic. And again, he is one that he can easily be abused. Very easily be abused.
Yeah. He's really cool.
Brian was the other one. Did you have anything to add to that?
Did Brian actually mute for once?
Brian fall off the call.
Brian get hit by a truck or eaten by an Allosaurus with an elf warrior riding on it?
It's probably that last one.
Someone discarded 2 green cards and the Allosaur rider chased him.
Maybe he was one of the green cards.
Yeah.
Oh well, I guess he'll be back eventually. I hope.
Mm-hmm.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Usually it's me.
Or I'm the one who mutes his stuff, and I'm busy going, why are you guys talking over me?
Nope, he's back.
Hey, there we go. Okay, I was just going to text Chewy to say, hey, apparently my internet went away. What's the last thing you heard me say?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Hey, Dirk, read this card.
Yeah, Dirk went on a long talk about Darian, and then he goes, Brian, you're the only one that said something about it. What do you think? And we're like, Brian, you're muted.
Dirk, I heard most of what Dirk was saying, and he started to robot hard. And I was like, okay, does anybody else hear this? Hello? Oh, crap. So I was just about to text, Chewy that I'm like, I think my internet's gone. But so, yeah, I actually built a deck based around Darian and Soul Warden when I was like, oh, dude, infinite stuff. So, or just at least I take a damage, maybe like from a pain land. I get a soldier comes and I gain a life. Oh, look at that. But I think even without shenanigans, he has the potential to seriously disrupt play, because taking 2 damage is not a big deal. Getting 2 guys with no additional mana investment, even just 1/1s, is. And then, the potential swing is pretty important. So I feel like he could be mythic. He has a big impact upon the board, and he's a legendary creature, which, as we saw from Homelands, is not necessarily a shoe-in, but it is a factor to be included. So I think he could be. I'm not like, woo, Darian all the way. I think the Angel, I have to disagree with Dirk in so much as I think that the Angel slightly edges him out, but I could see them both being mythic if the set allowed.
Oh no, I said the Angel was a close second.
I know. I'm saying that the Angel is a close. I think Darien to me is a close second.
Oh,
but I think if the set allowed for 2 mythics in a color, that both of these would fit.
See, the only thing I see with the limitation with the Angel is that something has to die for it to get it back, and it only brings back one thing. So if 2 really big, bulky creatures went to the graveyard, you're only going to get one.
Oh, darn.
I mean, that does sound like oh darn and everything, but it does sort of feel like it had a little bit of a limitation in it. That number one, it has to die. Number two, you're limited in the amount of stuff. So if there's a board wipe of some sort where a whole bunch of stuff went to the graveyard, and there's a whole bunch of things go, you're limited to one thing.
And I get what you're saying, but taking the lid off of that limitation too much, even just a little bit, can lead to a card that is actually
overpowered.
Is actually bad and unfair. Yeah.
Have we actually said what we've talked about the Angel as the Angel, but have we actually said what it does yet?
No, no one's read it yet.
The Adakar Valkyrie costs 4 and 2 white, is a snow creature, Angel. It's too bad it can't read Snow Angel. But it's a 4/5 with flying and vigilance, and has the ability tap. When target creature other than Adakar Valkyrie dies this turn, return that card to the battlefield under your control. What does it not say? When target creature you control.
Yes.
So I see where Dirk is going. He's saying if there's a board wipe, it can't save itself. It's only getting one thing. Or if 2 things are dying, yes, you only get one. And I like how Dirk immediately, when Dirk said, if 2 big things die, I'm immediately thinking, oh, Dirk, you are so green. Because I can just picture
right?
Dirk has like an 8/8 and a 9/9, and he's like...
And then someone casts shock and spite to kill the other thing, or...
And I'm like, Dirk, most people are not going to have all of these giant/giant things. So I get what you're saying, and it only...
Dirk says most people need to play better.
Well,
obviously you're playing this game wrong.
Well, I know I am, but think of it this way. First of all, look at the whole package. It's a 4/5 for 6, which isn't terrible. That flies. It has a tap ability, and it has vigilance. That is so important because a lot of times with this type of effect, you have to choose. Okay, am I good to swing in, or do I need to keep it untapped? And vigilance just says, nah, boy, do both. So the fact that it is just about always going to be able to tap, as long as you can untap with it the first time, and the fact that, I know what you said, it only can save one thing at a time. It can save something every turn. You can use it as many over and over again once around, but still, it's not like it's a sorcerer instant that says, do this, okay, you're done. Mm-hmm. So it's a fairly strong body. It has very, very, very I can't talk tonight. Very complementary effects in tap ability and vigilance, and the fact that even if the board is going to get wiped, as long as you can use that second ability, even though it can't save itself, it can still grab, well, what's the one thing on the board that I want most? It's mine now. And then the fact
turns a board wipe that would kill everything into... It kills everything except for the best thing on the board, and by the way, that's yours now.
That's yours now.
Yeah.
And even if it was someone else's before then. So I get what you're saying, but I gotta say, she's just this side of busted.
So the only issue I have with her is I have her. She's been in several decks I've had, and I don't know if it's that she's just not there when I need her in order to put her on the board and everything, or when I do have her, she's just so expensive that I just can't get her out. Or when she does get out, she doesn't stick around long enough because everyone says OMG and they kill her, and so I never get to use her ability.
And I think that's part of it, is everybody sees it and goes, no, we're not doing that. We're no Dirk, bad Dirk. Because that's the thing, is that when you have that sort of effect, it is so good, it has to draw out the hate right away. So I understand what you're saying, but and we don't have to argue till we're blue in the face or anything. I think, and you're not denying that it's a strong card. I think we're just talking about how much. But
so blue.
Any other cards in white, or can we keep moving?
Nah.
All right. Blue, holy cow. Just, I see, if we don't even think about Commandeer, I see Hydar, I see Arkham, geez, and I see Jokal Mortar. I don't know that the Owl or the Sphinx are quite there, but...
I don't know about Jokal Mortar, but I'm wondering if, of course, the first thing I thought of is Arkham Dagsson. And I'm having to think carefully about whether that's because, he would actually fit the criteria we're trying to go for, or whether it's because I'm biased by the complete insanity that we've become familiar with from him.
I think there's enough potential here that they had to say at the time, yeah, this can be nuts.
Yeah.
What's he do?
So Arkham Dagsson, for 3 and a blue, he's a legendary human artificer and is a 2/2. He has an ability, tap, target artifact creature's controller, meaning the target is an artifact creature. Its controller sacrifices it. That player may search his or her library for a non-creature artifact card, put it onto the battlefield, and shuffle.
See, I could see him being more rare than Mythic if he was a polymorph effect, where they didn't know what they were getting. But the fact that its controller just goes, this is the artifact I want, as long as it's not an artifact creature, and throws it onto the board without paying its mana cost at all, I'm just like, I realize, and I think I see where you're coming from, because we've all heard the Commander stories or seen the Commander decks that just, I have an Arkham Dagsson deck, and much like Chewie's Hegemon deck,
Sharoom, yeah.
I built mine without intending to do anything stupid. But the stupid Arkham Dagsson crazy, ridiculous decks are out there because people go, wow, this is busted. But even if you weren't to go quite that far, the space that this opens up is just redonkulous.
Yeah. Even not even a commander deck, even a normal deck. I remember Animal had an Arkham Dagsson deck. He called it the Pimp My Ride deck. And it was full of all kinds of wacky stuff.
Oh, that was before vehicles.
Yes, it was. Oh, yeah. Now he can get vehicles. That's right. Yeah.
Well, technically, you can't get...
Take a mirror and turn it into the pain train.
Well, you can't get an artifact creature out. And
vehicles are not artifact creatures.
While they're not in play, they're not considered a creature?
They do not have the creature type printed on them.
Ah, good point. See,
they have a power toughness box, but they are not creature cards.
Darn you, wizards. Okay, so Arkham Dagsson, if he's not a mythic, I think it's awfully close. I mean, right up on it. Just right up. So Hydar, Rhymewind Master, we touched on this guy a little bit before from a story perspective. He costs 4 and a blue. He's a 3/3 legendary human wizard. And he has the ability pay 2, generic, tap him, return target permanent to its owner's hand. Activate this ability only if you control 4 or more snow permanents. And of course, that restriction is there because the ability to just go boomerang that is insane. Just insane. So they make you play with snow permanents, which if you play with snow lands is not a problem.
Yeah, he's also not a snow creature because then it would say 5 or more.
Yeah.
Also, it wouldn't fit on the type line.
Yeah.
So he's powerful. I feel like the ability is probably rare, but I don't know that's necessarily mythic. But it is a strong ability, and he is not just any legendary creature. He is extremely essential to the set. He is the Nicol Bolas of this set.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
have you? I don't want to get into it a whole lot now, but Mike, have you read the story last week and this week?
Yes, I have.
Holy frickin' balls, dude!
Yeah.
Okay, back on
good.
topic.
Yep.
So
That's it. That's all I want to say.
like, this might be Mythic just to keep it from screwing up drafts.
There's that too.
Because
Maybe,
this
yeah.
ability in Limited is if you can get, because at the time, and I think this still is the way it works, the only snow lands you have are the ones you draft.
Yeah.
You can't just put all the snow lands in your deck.
Right. Yeah, you can't go get them from the land station.
Yeah.
But there was one in each booster.
True. So using Hydar for that was kind of iffy.
Yeah. But there are other snow synergy cards in the
Right.
set.
And other snow permanents.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Like we saw the Snow Angel.
Right. But what I'm saying is it's not always guaranteed to be on
Yes.
Correct.
unless you open him early and then warp your draft around it. But even so, it's so brutal bouncing a permanent every turn for only 2 mana
Yeah.
that it is possible that that's disruptive enough that they would have put it at Mythic.
Huh.
For that reason. Maybe not
And
just
I think-
for that reason, but because it's right on the line of Mythic or not.
They definitely take Limited into consideration. Usually the biggest difference they make is what is uncommon and what is rare. But definitely, if something is destructive enough, and you really don't want to see this effect happening in many games, because the whole game, unless they can deal with Hydar, the whole game just stops until one player is able to out-resource the other. So, yeah, I could see that.
Anyone else notice that the art on Commandeer looks like it could be the Shredder? Anyway.
Could be.
Tonight I dine on some kind of soup.
Whatever soup you just cast, that's mine now.
No. Hey, Dirk.
Mhm.
Why don't you read Jokel Mortar?
So for 4 and 3 blue, it is a 12/12 Leviathan creature that has trample. Jokel Mortar enters the battlefield tapped. Thank goodness. When Jokel Mortar enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you sacrifice 5 lands.
Yeah.
Jokel Mortar doesn't untap during your untap step. Whenever you play an island, you may untap Jokel Mortar.
Such a stupid card.
A little bit, but it
Yeah.
feels very Polar Kraken-ish.
Yeah, it's definitely a reference to Polar Kraken.
Yeah. And it's a Leviathan. And it's huge and expensive, and it actually has trample built in, which is an advantage some of these dumb giant creatures really don't have. Oh, you have to jump through all these hoops to get me out. And oh, you have to keep feeding me. And oh, maybe you have to have an island. They have to have an island. And I stop on a dime. This, at least, if you hit with it, even if you never use it again, it's gonna like leave an imprint. So, is it Mythic? I'm not sure, but if you look under the, is it big? Yes. 12/12. Nothing else in the set even comes close. Is it a callback to an older card, a kind of iconic older card? Yes. Is it expensive? Yes. Is it kind of complicated to use, like such that you don't want it at a lower rarity? Yes. The only issue I even really have with it, I think if we
I thought
didn't,
you were about to say such that you don't actually want to bother with it.
Yes.
probably, but that is not necessarily a determiner of Mythic. I think, honestly, for me, it is a strong possibility, and I think it would be absolutely, positively yes if we didn't have Arkham Dagson and Hydar and Commandeer in blue. It's nice to know that when they were designing this set, they definitely took the approach from 10 years before, where if it's blue, it's awesome, which they had for a long time. Because blue could just do all this stuff.
Yeah, I think that sums up the blue in the set.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
how about black?
I really love the Herald of Leshrac. I use it in a couple decks, but I'm gonna have to go with Hakon. Hakon. Hakon.
I don't know. I really don't. But I would agree that we have to pick Hakon.
Well, then what don't you know about?
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh, okay. I thought I wasn't sure what. When you were saying I don't really know, I thought you meant that you had another pick.
Oh my god.
But then you were like, "But we have to pick them," and I'm like, "Understand." Well, what's Mr. Guy do then?
All right. So Mr. Sir over here for 1 black. He's a legendary zombie knight, and he's a 3/3. Okay. You may cast Hakon Stromgold Scourge from your graveyard, but not from anywhere else.
Da, da, da.
As long as Hakon is on the battlefield, you may play knight cards from your graveyard. When Hakon dies, you lose 2 life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seems pretty mythic to me. I mean, the fact that you can't even play him from your hand, well, that sounds like a drawback. It's kind of a neat little, hey, here's how you're supposed to play with him. And then the fact that he changes how you're able to cast the other knights in your deck is pretty important. And he doesn't give that first restriction to your other knights. So you can play the other knights in the deck from your hand, watch them die, and then play them from the graveyard as many times as you want. There's nothing here that says when a knight you control other than Hakon dies, exile it, blah, 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 blah. No. Just keeps bringing it back. As long as he's alive.
Yeah.
And if he dies, you can play him again. You know, woo.
Dude, East Sunshade is a knight now.
What?
Oh, broken.
Get out of my graveyard.
Go do something productive.
And hey, so was that one that cares about heroes that aren't heroes.
Yeah, you're right. The Aeson Crusader.
Oh my
But she
god.
doesn't care about knights. So
The possibilities are endless, let's say.
let's say probably not endless. So but anyway, any others in black?
I actually think that the Herald might be.
The Herald was my choice also.
Mhm.
Okay. I love him. I feel like I'm biased against him because he's awesome. So somebody else talk about him. Dirk, you like big things?
Well, the Herald of Leshrac costs 6 and a black for a 2/4 avatar with flying.
Huge.
Sounds like a lot. He's huge in terms of cost and size, but he has cumulative upkeep, which normally has some sort of drawback. However, his cumulative upkeep gain control of a land you don't control.
What?
So Herald of Leshrac gets +1/+1 for each land you control you don't own. When Herald of Leshrac leaves the battlefield, each player gains control of each land he or she owns that you control.
Yeah.
And the reason that I thought that he could be mythic is not only does he essentially get you lots of mana and get huge, he's also denying your opponent's resources.
Yep.
So he's a bunch of land destruction while he's a slowly growing flyer.
Yeah. And he's one of the only cumulative upkeep cards to have a positive cumulative upkeep.
Yeah.
They are almost universally negative.
It will start to get really difficult to pay it really fast, but it's a very positive effect.
And when you're having trouble paying it is when you've got more lands than he can really take anyway, at which point you have all the lands so you'll ever need. So
Yeah, so like his first turn he's a 2/4.
Mhm.
You untap, you pay his upkeep, he's a 3/5. Well, if he survives one more turn, now he's the next turn, you get 2 more lands, so now he's, what did I say, a 3/5? Now he's a 5/7. And sure, it takes 2 turns for that to happen, but damn.
Yeah, and you've taken 3 lands from your opponent. And if, Magical Christmas Land, it comes back around, you've taken 6 lands from your opponent, and it's an 8/10. Hopefully you'll be able to figure out what to do with that.
Better leave him back to block.
So yeah, I'm definitely in favor of him being mythic. I just wanted to make sure that, I wasn't colored by my own experiences with him. He is fantastic in multiplayer because then it's that much longer before you run out of lands and there's a greater variety to choose from.
Yeah, seems neat.
Yeah. So that may do it for black. We said Soul Spike isn't. Void Maw is kind of cool, but I don't know that it's mythic. Etchings.
I'm just biased towards Void Maw and Phyrexian etchings because I play them.
Like, I love me some Void Maw, but I originally had everything in black on my list except for Soul Spike. And then I went, no, the Assassin's dumb, and I took it off. And then I went, Etchings I think is probably fine at rare. And then I had the other three, and I had to stare really hard at Void Maw before I realized I just love this card. It's not mythic.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get past that sometimes. Any others for you, Dirk, before we move on to red?
Nope.
All right. Red rares, everybody. Red rares.
Braid of Fire.
Braid of Fire, at the time it was printed.
Scary.
Had a drawback.
Yeah.
Had a huge drawback.
Mm-hmm.
Braid of Fire for 1 and a red is an enchantment. It has cumulative upkeep at a red to your mana pool. And that's all it does. Now, little boys and girls, settle down as Uncle Brian tells you a story. Before The Land Before Time, there was this thing called mana burn, where if you had mana in your mana pool, trademark, at the end of a step or phase of the turn, Michael, correct me on that in a second.
Mike's turn.
Basically, if one part of your turn was about to pass over to the next major part of your turn, if you had any mana in your mana pool, it all emptied out, and for each mana of any color or type that was, you take 1 point of damage for each.
You lose a life.
It's life loss, yeah.
Life loss.
Mm.
So, because this is cumulative upkeep, there's only so many things you can do with mana during your upkeep. Now, of course, the whole point in playing this, because that's all it does, is have some way to use the mana. But it was also a drawback, because if you lost another way to use it, you were going to take 3, and the next turn you were going to take 4, and the next turn you were going to take 5.
If you decided to keep paying the cumulative upkeep cost.
Yeah. Otherwise,
it is optional.
But otherwise, then you've got a card that really did nothing. So nowadays, this is literally all upside because there's no mana burn. At the time, I mean, it's kind of a neat effect, but I think the fear of mana burn kind of kept it in.
Yeah, I think the fact that it had mana burn as a potential downside balanced it.
If it was printed today, I think there's a decent chance to be mythic. I don't know that it'd be mythic, but I think there's a better chance. But at the time, I don't think so. What do you think about the dragon?
Maybe.
I mean, it's like the only thing left, right?
Well, that and Cold Eyes, but none of the others.
I completely missed that she gave Barbarians, Warriors, and Berserkers +2/+2 and haste. I completely missed the haste.
And haste.
So Levisa Cold Eyes, now they've pretty much talked about it. For 3 and 2 red is a 3/3 human, not a lord anymore. Or lords.
She's just a human.
She's a human. She
a
has
job.
no job. Well, she's dead, so
Never mind. So she's a human corpse.
Each creature that's a barbarian, a warrior, or a berserker. Wait, it's not just yours. Ah ha ha. Each creature that's a barbarian, a warrior, or a berserker gets +2/+2 and has haste. So she's the old school type lord.
Yeah.
But +2/+2, I mean, okay, I'm going to sound very dumb when I say that's twice as good as +1/+1. Well, yes. But I think people underestimate just how impactful that is. And then haste. I don't know. I think maybe she could be, but I think it'd be more the virtue that, hey, she's a main character in the story. And the effect is maybe just good enough. But, maybe.
That haste, man, I didn't even see that. That changes things, dude.
And the fact that it's not like you have to tap her to give it haste, pay any extra mana, it's just straight up, just they all do that.
Yeah, play a thing and swing with it, go.
Yeah.
Whereas the dragon locks things down forever. So the rhyme scale dragon, 5 red is a 5/5 flying snow creature dragon. For 2 and a snow mana, yeah, that was a thing. You tap target creature and put an ice counter on it. And creatures with ice counters on them don't untap during their controller's untap steps. So not only did it put an ice counter on it, but it tapped it down so that the ice counter mattered. So, but I think the fact that it costs 7 and like its ability costs 3, and one of which has to come from snow, I think it's fine as a rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
It's really cool though. It's a big frost dragon that freezes things. It's freaking Syndragosa. Oh my god.
The art's pretty cool too. But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I just, I was kind of at a loss. But again, the haste on Lavisa, not her, she doesn't have haste, but giving haste is pretty important. So, okay, green. Hey, Dirk.
Mm-hmm.
What's your pick?
Let's see, green, Hibernation's End and Shape of the Witigo.
Witigo?
One of those I expected, the other one not so much.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely with you on Hibernation's End.
Yeah.
But I've got Panglacial Worm as my other one.
I was wondering about Orin Viper as my second one.
They definitely hyped up Orin Viper at the time. It was a Mike Flores preview, which tells you something.
I mean, I played with it and it was awesome.
Okay, well, why don't we take these one at a time? First of all, anybody for Brooding Saurian? No?
No.
Okay. Just
No.
Okay, that's fine. And we've already talked about Allosaurus Rider. So Hibernation's End.
So that one is for 4 and a green. It's an enchantment. Cumulative upkeep of 1. Whenever you pay Hibernation's End's cumulative upkeep, you may search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to the number of age counters on Hibernation's End and put it onto the battlefield. If you do, shuffle your library.
Just as a reminder, cumulative upkeep uses age counters to track how many times you're supposed to be paying the cumulative upkeep cost each turn.
Yeah.
Right. So you play Hibernation's End, and then next turn you pay 1. In theory, you can choose not to pay it, and woo, you wasted 5 mana on a card. But let's say you pay 1, and then you can go through your library, get something that costs exactly 1.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be 1 or less. It can't be 1 or more. It's 1, and the next turn 2, and you get a 2-drop, etc., etc. Assuming you are only paying for Hibernation's End, and you didn't cheat it out somehow, you at least, with no other lands, get 1 through 5. It's kind of interesting. It's very similar to Azor's Gateway in that you want to build a deck where you have multiple, where you have things all down the curve, which is always a good idea to do anyway. But specifically, you're looking for targets so that hopefully every turn you're getting something from this, because any turn you're not just feels like a missed opportunity.
It's also a way to get around
Counter spells?
drawbacks. Well, that too, but drawbacks.
True.
Like additional costs.
The hunted creatures, for example.
Yeah. Just
What?
anything that's like bigger than it should be that has, sacrifice a creature or discard a card or something when it enters the battle. No, wait.
No, wait.
It would
You're
have to
thinking
be
of
additional
Hearthstone.
cast. Yeah.
You're thinking of Hearthstone.
I'm thinking of battle cries. Yeah, it would have to be. It only gets around additional costs.
Okay, I was wondering what you guys were going on about.
Yeah, and I think I fell into that trap too. But something that might say, oh, this only costs 1 or 2 mana, but as an additional cost to cast it, do something ridiculous.
Mhm.
So
Punch your opponent or something.
that would be a benefit. Wait, depending on if you like your opponent or not.
Or if you, want to keep playing in the tournament.
Appeal to the judge. The card made me do it. Okay.
But still, I just like it because it lets you cast essentially you're casting cards that you don't have in hand.
Right.
You get to pick what you want.
Right.
Yeah.
And it feels because of its ongoing nature of multiple tutor effects, it hit me as a mythic.
It is a more fair. It's banned from modern.
I can see the art.
It's not breeding pool. It's
oh, come on! What is this card? What?
Birthing pod.
Birthing pod. Thank you.
Thank you.
It is a fair birthing pod.
I was like, I can see the art.
When you first, it's like when you first started with it's a more fair. I'm like, Oath. Everything's more fair than Oath. Like,
yeah. So I think Hibernation's End could definitely be mythic. It sounds like we're pretty much all in agreement on that one, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to submit for the approval of the Midnight people, Panglacial Worm, for 5 and 2 green. It is a 9/5 worm with trample. Ow. And when you're searching your library, you may cast Panglacial Worm from your library. So, much like Hibernation's End, you're able to get something out of your deck without having to have it in hand. This does not allow you to circumvent the cost, although really neither does Hibernation's End because you're still paying for the creature.
Yeah.
And in this instance, it's a 9/5 with trample. Ugh. And you don't have to have a card on the battlefield to make this work. This does not require having a particular card out. It doesn't. You don't have to have something named or anything like that. It can be as simple as, you sack your fetch land, or you cast Demonic Tutor, or an opponent, casts Path to Exile on your other creature. And you're like, hey, while I'm in here, let me just grab this. Yoink. So requires a little bit of setup, but I think the fact that it bends the rules as far as when it can be played, plus it's a nice beefy fatty, puts it into the mythic category.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm biased against it from playing it because it ends up being so awkward. Like if you're doing anything other than, activating and evolving wilds or something, that means you need to have at least 9 mana up, possibly as much as 11 in order to get that.
And I get that. It's definitely expensive.
Yeah, I thought about it for a while, but then it might as well say that you can cast it as though it had flash sometimes. And the fact that there's no discount for playing it from your library. It's just, hey, while you're in there, spend the 7 mana. It didn't really hit me as mythic-y after I'd stared at it for a while. Like, it's not as weird as Hacken, where you can only play from your graveyard.
Right. I agree it's not as unique as that. But I do feel the fact that you've basically...
You can cast the worm from your library, but not from anywhere else.
Dude, that would be kind of interesting.
It better be way cheaper, though.
Well, and that would be ultimate feel bad if you actually drew it. You're like top decking and you're like, yes, it's a 9/5. Yeah. I don't know. I definitely see where you're coming from. I don't think you really should get a discount on it, though, because the fact that you're basically... It's almost always available to you. Whereas you have what percentage of the time you have to draw it out of your deck normally to cast a creature spell. This is available a far greater percentage of the time. But it does require some setup. So we can put that one down as a maybe, maybe not. What about the shape? Dark, you were talking about this one.
Mm-hmm. The shape of the Wendigo.
Yeah, go for it.
That one was an aura enchantment. So for 3 and 3 green, enchant creature, when Shape of the Wendigo enters the battlefield, put 6 +1/+1 counters on enchanted creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on enchanted creature if it attacked or blocked since your last upkeep. Otherwise, remove a +1/+1 counter from it. I chose it because it can take a creature and it makes the creature, depending on what creature you put it on, it makes that creature just agonizingly powerful.
I mean,
You can take a creature that just looks at an Eldrazi and goes, I am so dead, and all of a sudden you make it go, come at me. We'll see who wins this fight.
I mean, even if you dropped it on the 1/1, you made that creature astonishingly
A 7/7.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't it puts counters on it. It puts counters on the creature. So let's say for some reason the aura gets bounced. Who cares?
Yeah. Maybe you did it on purpose.
Maybe you want to put those counters on, put more counters on something. Maybe you want to make that thing even bigger. But if it stays on the creature, as long as you keep attacking with it, then it gets bigger. And even if, let's say, there's a stall and you can't attack right away, let's say you lose 3 counters that way. Whoop-a-dee-doo. You still got 3 +1/+1 counters. It's never actually going to kill the creature. It's never actually going to kill the creature as long as you didn't put it on like a phantom creature, which would be dumb. So
again, with the thing about this is when we think of the mythic cards, we think of something that when you see it, it makes you go, huh, or it can sort of shift the game a little bit. And this makes something big, and the only way you maximize this card is you have to be aggressive. If you're not going to be aggressive with this card, you shouldn't have played the card. And so if you play this, you're making something big, and if you keep doing what this card's telling you to do, it's going to get bigger. It's going to get harder to take care of, and if you do take care of the shape, then you've still got a big guy coming at you. And I think of it as being a mythic, because I want to say Mike traded me it, or one of you guys said, hey, I think this will go in your enchantment deck. And I put it in the enchantment deck, and I'm pretty sure one of you regretted it, because I stuck it on the ledge walker.
That sounds like something you would do.
The ledge.
That's because you're a monster.
Of the building that it toppled on you.
This statue will look really nice on your face.
Special delivery. But I mean, yeah.
I guess I didn't look at it too hard because I hate to admit it, but I'm a little biased against auras, especially enchant creature auras, because I think they have a stigma of they're only as good as what you put them on, and if you remove the creature, that they're more reliant on they are more reliant than a lot of other things as far as you have to have some setup for them. But with that being said, having through this discussion, I'm kind of reminded of, this can just wreck people.
Mm-hmm.
Just how much do you love your 6/6s? How much do you love having a 6/6 with haste? Because that's basically what this is you put it on something that's already out there, and all of a sudden you've got an extra 6 points of power and toughness.
I still don't see the myth. It's just a buff. Like if it was a 6/6 for 6 with this ability, we wouldn't even look at it.
Correct, but it's not.
But because it's an aura, as Brian had said, you can pick and choose what this goes on. Do you want something with flying to become a 6 to get an additional 6/6? Congrats. If you wanted to have trample, congrats. You got a bigger trampler.
But it doesn't give trample.
It doesn't innately give it, but
he's saying if you put it on something that already has trample.
Yes.
Yeah, but
I'm just kind of picturing Dirk's Birds of Paradise. I'm like, that's a cute bird. And then it's like, my face.
Yeah, like I understand where Dirk's head is at, but I just don't see it. I think Dirk just loves making things huge, and this thing will get huge indefinitely, which is what Dirk is seeing.
Yeah.
Well, before we go on too long, what do we think about the Viper? Because that's the last one that I think, Mike, you mentioned the Viper?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, Mike, what's the Viper do? You're so smart.
So the Orin Viper, for 1 green, it's a snow creature. It's snake. It's a snake. And it's a 1/3. Whenever Orin Viper deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature at end of combat. So it
Super
has like
death
a
touch.
basilisk style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Touch.
delayed death touch, yeah.
Mhm. And whenever Orin Viper deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So also reminiscent of Ophidian and Thieving Magpie and friends.
Yeah. It's an Ophidian that they really, really, really don't want to block because they'll lose whatever they put in front of it. And I remember when the set was getting ready to come out, this thing was hyped up. And then it didn't end up doing a lot in the current metagame, but it was still really... I got a playset of these early on. I was like, yeah, boy. And I still like them. I don't know if it's Mythic, though. I mean, it's cool.
I think that, like, it's a really neat combination of abilities that individually are, you know, sort of useful and together are kind of sick.
Yeah, it's very synergistic.
Yeah, but I don't...
But, yeah.
I don't see the Mythic there either.
Yeah. I'm going with Chew on this one. I love it. I love them, but I feel very comfortable with it at a rare. You don't want it at uncommon because that would be...
Oh, God, no.
That would be... Limited Coldsnap would be the worst. And it's a snow creature. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I am perfectly comfortable with this at rare. Mike and Dirk, what do you think?
I was just thinking there was a possibility that it could have been, you know, the pushed good card Mythic in the set.
I see what you mean.
And on paper, it read like it should have been that push good card.
Well, yeah, like Brian said, they hyped the hell out of it, and then, like, it didn't, like Brian said, it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And Flores was like, huh.
All right.
So
anything
gold
else?
cards.
Gold cards. 3 of these are legendary. One of them is a fairy.
So I'm going to be honest. I originally put all 3 of the legendaries on my Mythic pile, and then I read them again, and I individually took each one off. I don't find any of these to be actually Mythic.
No, I think they're fine, too.
They are perfectly fine at rare. If anything, I would almost say Tamanoa, which is actually not legendary. I stared at that one for a long time.
Me too.
Yeah, that's the closest one for me, too, Tamanoa.
For me, the closest ones to Mythic were Zur, Gargazol, and Tamanoa. Sequar, the Death Keeper is great, but I just think he's good at rare, and Diamond Fairy absolutely is rare.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with them being at rare, all of these. I think some of them are more unique effects, but I don't think any of them are necessarily Mythic.
Yeah, like no one cared about Zur until Commander happened and people could break him.
Yeah.
And then he has found his way into a couple of modern decks, I think it was, here and there. It might have been Legacy. Modern seems more feasible, but even so, it's still not like uber powerful or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's got enough of a restriction on it to keep it from breaking anything. So, by the way, he's a 1/4 human wizard for 1, a white, a blue, and a black. He has flying, and when he attacks, you can search your library for an enchantment card with converted mana cost 3 or less and put it onto the battlefield.
You notice he doesn't say aura.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's cool. Tamanoa's cool. It's for Naya colors, red, a green, and a white. It's a 2/4 spirit, and whenever a non-creature source you control deals damage, you gain that much life. Wow, that is completely unchanged from the original printing.
Yeah.
Good for you, Tamanoa. And that's really cool in that it interacts that way. But it's narrow enough. The decks that are going to abuse the heck out of it, but otherwise it's perfectly safe. So I'm okay with these being rare if you guys are. You know what's not rare?
I think I might.
You might. What is it? What is it?
Is it Dark Depths?
It is, in fact, Dark Depths.
Ooh.
Who wants to say Dark Depths is rare? Because I'll fight you in the streets. in the streets
Did I laugh?
and in
I didn't
the
laugh.
hills. Hey, Mike, what's Dark Depths do?
So, Dark Depths is a legendary snowland. It certainly is. It enters the battlefield with 10 ice counters. You can pay 3 to remove an ice counter from Dark Depths. When Dark Depths has no ice counters on it, sacrifice it. If you do, create a legendary 2020 Black Avatar creature token with flying and indestructible named Merit Lage.
But it doesn't tap for mana.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. This, I mean, even if you know nothing about Modern and Vampire Hexmage, you should just be able to tell this is a cool card. And, oh god, I know it's in Coldsnap, so don't, it's cool, whatever. But this is an awesome card because of what it represents. It makes a 2020 token. I mean, what else do you need? If you don't see this card, I remember seeing this during preview season. If you don't see this card for the first time and go, wow, then you are a broken human being. Because I don't know what you want out of life. I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying that. Damn it, man. I'm not saying that this has to be, your favorite card or that you ever even want to play this card. And you may see this and go, oh, but if you don't appreciate what this represents, then I just have no words for you. Hi, Chewy.
I'm still
laughing. Wow.
Anybody want to say it's not Mythic? I'm pretty sure we're all pretty much in agreement.
I agree.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
All right, well, let's finish this up then. There's a couple more cards here. Any of them Mythic? Anybody?
Thrumming Stone has a possibility, but I don't know.
What's it do?
So Thrumming Stone it's a legendary artifact that costs 5. And its ability is spells you control have Ripple 4. Now, the reminder text explains the Ripple ability. This is what Ripple does. Whenever you cast a spell, this is what Ripple 4 does. Whenever you cast a spell, you may reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast any revealed cards with the same name as the spell without paying their mana costs, and then put the rest on the bottom.
See, I remember... Go ahead.
Coldsnap was a small set that was designed to be drafted alone. And they were able to play with that by putting this ripple effect on a cycle of cards at common, one in each color. So that, you're drafting a small set, so any given card is just going to show up it's just more likely to show up pretty often. There's going to be, on average, more copies of it in the draft. And because your deck is just 40 cards, if you're able to pick a decent number of a certain spell with Ripple, then you might be able to use the ability to cast extra copies of it when you cast the first one. But Thrumming Stone gives the Ripple ability to every card in your deck.
And I think I remember seeing this during previews and going, hey, that's pretty cool. And over time, I have not really used it. And I think that what spoils it for me is nothing to do with this card. It's more of our group and where our focus has gone. And I think you know where this is going. We mostly, if we're getting together to play, not including like competitively, if we're getting together and playing, we're probably playing Commander. How awesome is Thrumming Stone in Commander?
brilliant. No, wait.
It's the opposite of that, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even at the time, if we're playing 60 card decks, Ripple is really a limited ability.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's really hard for Ripple to do anything in a 60 card deck except for Relentless Rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one place this has been seen is the Relentless Rats Thrumming Stone deck where you win?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And to be clear, with the way that Ripple is written, if any of the cards you flip up and cast from the ripple effect also have ripple, then you can keep going.
Right.
With those.
Because you're actually casting that spell, and that includes keywords like ripple, because that triggers when you cast the spell.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also, it's neat to point out real quick, I looked up ripple in Gatherer, and they all have ripple 4 because they learned from Threshold that just in case they want a number at the end if they ever do this again, which they haven't to this point, but just in case, they put a 4 on it.
Yeah, so they can change it. So maybe you could see something that is like, for 1 and a blue, instant, draw a card, ripple 10.
Okay, that's probably a bit
Sure.
much, but yeah.
Probably. But I'm saying they could.
So yeah.
Okay. So Mythic?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Well, maybe, actually. I don't know. I think
It's
my brain is broken.
It is not... I don't know that it's a shoo-in for Mythic. But I think it's definitely a, maybe. It is certainly more Mythic than the Phyrexian Soul Gorger or Scrying Sheets. I looked at Jester Scepter, but I decided no. So to recap, Dark Depths, absolutely. Thrumming Stone, maybe. I'm okay with that. So that is Coldsnap. So what do we take away from Homelands versus Coldsnap?
Set design got a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
10
years
and a
makes a
half years.
difference.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, if you it's okay to romanticize the past and look at old cards and go, wow, that's really cool. But keep in mind, not every old card was Black Lotus.
Mm-hmm.
Not every old card was Grizzly Bears.
Yeah. Not every old card was even Squire.
Oh.
Because and these were rares we're talking about here. Some of these rares would have killed to be Squire. They're looking at Squire and they're like, it's so simple.
Goodness.
So mana efficient. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a good place to stop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And while having a weaker set like Homelands does make some of the cards easier to determine power level, for example, Autumn Willow versus every other card in green, that is not necessarily a healthy thing. Because if you're playing green, you've got the 1 or 2 good cards. Whereas if you're playing blue, you've got lots to choose from. So the colors seem a lot more balanced in Coldsnap. I think one of the hardest colors for us was red, as far as finding a mythic, but none of these cards are really bad. They just weren't necessarily as good.
Yeah, there weren't any Beast Walkers or Aeson Highway or Narwhal or
Oh, poor Narwhal.
Black Carriage or Dwarven Freaking Pony
Oh, jeez.
or Mammoth Harness in Coldsnap. Like, there were legitimately just bad cards at rare in Homelands.
Terrible.
And that just wasn't a thing in Coldsnap, because by then they had realized that having really terrible unplayable rares was probably not, well, having a lot of really terrible unplayable rares all over the place was just really not good for business.
Yeah. And
Actually,
maybe
it was around here that having really terrible unplayable lower rarities just wasn't really a thing anymore as much.
because they show up more in booster packs, so...
But I mean, like, there were always just crappy commons. Like, I remember drafting Kamigawa and getting that guy who was too expensive that could only target attacking spirits or something.
Takeno's Cavalry.
Oh, yes, the guy
That's
with the
the one.
bow. See, we're all thinking of him now.
And that card was so narrow and bad. And look, now I have to look it up. Damn it, Mike.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You'll feel better if you don't.
Okay, so it's a 1/1 for 4 with Bushido, and it deals 1 damage to target attacking or blocking spirit. It's a 1/1 for 4 that can ping only attacking versions of some of the cards, and that's a common. Which means in a draft, it was always like the last card. And in sealed, you'd end up with like 5 of them and be going, how is this even possible?
No, at least at the time, they still had tournament packs. So you're only getting 1, maybe 2 if you got a foil. So,
did Kamigawa have tournament packs, really?
Up through cons? No, that's too. No, not cons. Through Alara. Alara was Shards of Alara was the last set to have tournament packs.
Oh, okay.
You're right. I can see the box in my head. Yeah.
There you go then. So yeah, that was just a common that was miserable and basically worthless. And as set design has evolved, they've realized that having completely worthless commons is a bad call.
Well, that was another case where, and Kamigawa had this problem, where the design of some of the cards were slaves to the flavor of the set at the cost of play.
True. But even without the whole, like, spirits thing...
And that's basically all Homelands was.
Yeah, exactly. Even without the horrible, like, concession to flavor, and even in that set, where it supposedly mattered, it was a worthless card. Like...
Yes.
And so that's my point, is that from Homelands, where there were just lots of those worthless cards, up to Coldsnap, they weeded out a bunch of that design philosophy of, I don't know if they made bad cards on purpose, if they didn't realize they were bad or what, I don't know, but, like, I'm not saying that bad cards are bad, but I'm saying that absolutely worthless cards everywhere, that's bad. And they learned. And you could tell just from looking at the rares that at least in every color there were multiple cards to at least think about looking for mythics, whereas in Homelands is like, I guess this one because it's the only thing even remotely close ever at all ever. And it really shows. And I think I've beaten this point to death as if it was Hastur the Abbot. So, how about some final thoughts? Dirk, wake up. Give us a final thought.
I'm still looking forward to playing cards with you guys at some point in the not-too-distant future. I've had some ideas of some new decks, but I sort of just scrapped the ideas. I need to have some time where I can actually sit at a table and drum up some ideas and put together some decks and everything. And I felt inspired at one point, sort of digging through my binder, and I lost that inspiration. And so I was like, no, I was going to put these away. Hopefully, I'm looking to get some cards from the new set and see if that reinvigorates my spark of inspiration.
There you go. And now you've got a little more time too, because we had to push you back a little bit. So you've got more time. You have not had a chance to play the deck I gave you for your birthday, have you?
No.
Ah.
Like, I think we were going to play it, but then...
we ran out of time last time.
We ended up running out of time.
You only got to play in like 2 or 3 games tops last time, so...
Yeah. So, but that's my final thoughts. And with that, I have got to go to bed.
Yeah, yep. We figured.
Night, Zerg.
Night, everyone.
Night.
It's getting late even for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, very.
Well, I'll go next, and then I will sign off. Chewy knows this, and I hesitate to bring it up because I try to be more uplifting on the show and not like, oh, here's all the doom and gloom in the world. But, you know, when something significant happens, it's important to bring it up. I was driving to church on Sunday, and I was stopped at a light, and I just happened to glance over. I'm in the right lane, and there's a truck next to me. I just happened to glance over. I can't even tell you why. I didn't hear anything, and the guy in the passenger seat of the truck next to me is looking at me, and he's making some kind of motion where he wants to talk to me. And he looks kind of familiar, and I'm like, huh. So I start to roll down my window. I'm thinking, you know, what's this guy want? And Carrie's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, this guy wants to talk to me. And then I realized, oh, it's Walt. It's one of the DAs that I work with. I just didn't recognize him because he looked like he was in like hunting type attire, and I'm used to seeing him, dressed up for court. And I started making small talk, like, "Hey, how you doing? How's the family?" And he told me that a district attorney in the office died, and it struck me a little bit, but for whatever reason, and I don't want this to sound completely disrespectful, but when he said her name, it didn't even occur to me who that was. And we kept going. We were going to church anyway, because I was thinking, he said something about they understood it was a heart attack. So my mind immediately went to some of the older DAs. And I don't know every DA in the office because North Carolina has 100 counties. And in Guilford County is the only one of those 100 with 2 fully functioning full-time courthouses. Other counties may have more than one courthouse, but they share calendars, they share cases. We actually have 2 completely separate systems between these. And I know every DA in High Point, but I don't know everyone in Greensboro, especially some of the felony level DAs. So I was like, okay. And then we got home later, and I think maybe we were even still on the way home, and the name clicked, and I said, no way, because I didn't know how old she was. Her name was Rebecca, but I knew and also I've gotten terrible about telling how old people are. It's just bad for me. If you're not a wee youngin', then I just don't know. She was 31.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And from what it sounds, she had a heart attack on Saturday, and it was sudden. I believe I saw her. If I didn't see her on Friday, I at least saw her on Thursday, but I was talking to another DA, and they saw her as late as 5 o'clock on Friday, and everything was fine. Apparently, she was a smoker. I don't know if there were any other contributing health factors there. I'm not a family member. I don't know. The funeral was today. I ended up not being able to go. But so I don't like to be a downer, again, like I said, but I think sometimes we say, take every moment, because you don't know when your last moment will be. But then we get caught up in our lives. We can't, it's very difficult to literally spend every moment as if it was your last. And quite frankly, I think to a certain extent that would be irresponsible. Because if you're like, today is my last day, I'm going to just spend all my money, that's not a good idea, because hopefully it will not be your last day. So I think we hear that message so much, we kind of become like numb to it. You know what I mean? But this is someone I work with, and I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you guys, and I can hear the sound of her voice. And it's very awing. And it makes you really go, huh. She was a very pleasant person. She was a pleasure to work with most of the time, even when we didn't get along. And I did do a couple trials against her. And quite frankly, I did beat her a couple times, and she beat me a couple times. And she was a good person. And I think that we are all a little worse off now that she's not here. And my thoughts go out to her family. I don't see that. She's passed on. I don't see any reason to withhold anything. Her name was Rebecca Phillips, and she was a good person. So thoughts and prayers go out to the family. And just as a reminder to everybody out there, if you are feeling like things are tough, don't mean to take anything away from that at all, because your situation could be very difficult. But hopefully you have tomorrow for things to get better, even if it can be difficult to see that at the time. And, so as we've said so many times, make the most of the time you've got. And, hopefully, your life will, if things get rough, so eventually the course will right itself. I don't really have anything else inspirational to say, but, there you go. I'm actually done talking now.
Wow, I've been muted this entire time and did not realize it. My bad.
That's all right. It happens sometimes.
So Yeah, just assume that I was agreeing with everything Brian said throughout all of that, because I was. You just couldn't hear it. Professional podcaster.
I didn't think I was saying anything that you'd be going no to. So
10 years under my belt. Got this down. Was muted for like 5 minutes. So Mike?
No, I don't have anything in particular today.
I'm sorry if I brought everything to town. It doesn't all have to be so serious.
Thank goodness, or we wouldn't have been together for this long.
Let me ask you real quick. I'm not going to take over your final thought, but did you enjoy playing the Final Fantasy TCG with me?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of the system? As far as
I think it's a really neat system. I couldn't tell whether the situation we got into where it seemed like you couldn't catch up and get back ahead was because of just bad luck or something structural. I think it was bad luck because you had removal and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't line up right with the way the rest of our cards were playing out.
Tell me, tell Chewy what you told me about what you were going to do when the game started and then what was in your opening hand, because you told me about that.
Yeah, so one of the mechanics in the game is that you can discard cards to help pay for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were shuffling up to get ready, I silently promised myself that I wasn't going to discard my entire hand on the first turn. I was going to show some restraint. But then when I looked at my opening hand and started counting things up, I'm sitting there like, dump your hand. It's like, no, you can't dump your hand. Do it. It's like, no, I can't. And I could have done it, but I stopped myself from doing it.
Didn't you have a Tidus in your opening hand?
Yes, I did.
And he was like, okay, if I dump everything in my hand, I can play it turn 1. But he didn't do it. He didn't do it. And he won. And when the game was over, he was like, I totally could have done this. But you had told me, watch me do this. Because Chewy, you know how Mike gets.
Oh yeah.
So, but he showed a remarkable level of restraint, and the game was actually I felt like he was controlling most of the game, but it never felt like it was completely out of reach for me.
Oh yeah.
And I managed to stall you for forever. I joked with you were going to end up winning with that 1-1, what was basically a 1-1, and sure enough, that was the guy that got in there. So. Right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
The stuff you found in the last few turns, if you had gotten some of those way earlier in the game, it would have turned out a lot different.
Yeah. So, well, let me know and when you're available, and we'll play again sometime.
Okay, sure.
All right. I didn't mean to take over just since you said you didn't have anything else to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then. So I guess that's me, then?
Yes. So what should I tell you to talk about?
All right. Well, this episode has gone long enough that I'm going to be extremely brief. Over on the YouTube channel, I'm still doing Cuphead. I finished the successful dungeon run videos. I've got one up for each class now, and every single one of them is insane, because that's the only way to win in a dungeon run in Hearthstone is with insanity. So all of those are up, so you can totally check those out. The next goal for Hearthstone content that I make specifically for YouTube is to finally go back and finish Heroic Blackrock Mountain.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's a hard one. I still haven't done that.
I just stopped because there were other things going on. And then at some point, I started again and did, I think, 2 more videos, and then just lost it again. And haven't gone back because I am actually terrible. So that's the next goal. But going up more recently on the YouTube channel, or more recently, I say, going up very soon in the future, I did a stream of Hearthstone laddering where I ran from rank 8 to rank 5 in 3.5 hours, which was pretty awesome. But I played several different decks and played against some really awesome decks and had some amazing games. And so since I'm planning on working on things that take longer, rather than have a large chunk of time where there's no content going up while I work on the Nerf report that Mike and I recorded, I'm actually going to chop up that stream and post it on YouTube in video form just the most interesting games, which is actually most of them, it turns out. So, yeah, I hope you like Hearthstone. Because that's going up. And then, like I said, that's so I can work on the nerf report, because they nerfed some cards and announced some changes to how the ranked ladder works. So, of course, Mike came over and we recorded a nerf report, but those take a long time to put together. So, that's the next thing on the docket as far as big projects. Yay.
When does the year switch over in Hearthstone?
April sometime.
Okay, I could have sworn it was earlier in the year.
Nope. The last 2 years, the new set and the rotation all have happened in April.
Okay.
Yep. So, that's youtube.com/themanapool. Over on twitch.tv/themanapool, I play games. Come check it out. We have a good time. We had a lot of fun, actually, during that Hearthstone stream, oddly enough. There's also facebook.com/themanapool. Twitter is @themanapool. All of that good stuff. If you want to help support what I do with this ridiculous amount of content, there's also Monday Night Magic. Don't forget that. I realize I very rarely mention that on this show. It's like I'm ashamed of it or something. But myself and Bill and Clues do Monday Night Magic, the news in the Magic world, tournament results, stuff like that. With plenty of bow ties and snark. That's Clues and Bill, respectively. So, yes. Also, if you want to help support what I do with all of this content, the 2 podcasts a week, and YouTube videos and streams, then you can go to patreon.com/themanapool and sign up there. Every little bit helps, and I really do appreciate it. You can get early stuff, YouTube videos and Manapool podcasts. You get early. You can get the early stuff and the odds and ends, all the stuff recorded before and after both Monday Night Magic and the Manapool. It's uncensored and unfiltered, and it's us talking about other aspects of our lives and other nerdy things we're into and planning out the show you're about to listen to and all of that. It's us being more us. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And you can get the odds and ends, the early stuff, and if you're feeling exceptionally generous, you can become a lifeguard, and you will have your name on the end slate for every video that goes up in the month, in each month that you support at that tier, and I will give you a shout out right here on the show. So, a big thanks to the following exceptionally generous lifeguards: Kim Ho, Andrew Hunt, Al. Oh crap, there's a new name and I don't know how to pronounce it. Oh no. Corey, also known as Apple Cork, everywhere that I see him, like chat and I think Twitter and all that. So, let me know how I should say your name or if Apple Cork is fine. Paul David, Lance Delicious, Team U Hellas Are You, John Morris, Stuart Slaw, PJ McMullen, Bosco Brittain, Casey, Nathan Hay, Danny, oh no. Wait, we got an email from this guy.
Oh yeah.
Danny Liao, I think.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Liao?
That one just came in yesterday, right?
No, this is 9 days ago.
Really? Okay.
Danny, I think it's Liao. He's in New Zealand. Thank you very much for the email. Mike replied, I keep meaning to, but I'm terrible with emails.
Yeah, we've gotten some other emails that I've also meant to reply to, but
Yeah,
haven't got around to it.
yeah, we've said many times we are the worst at actually replying to emails. We read them all, we promise. Okay, Danny Liao. I think that's right. Let me know if I said your name right. AJ Javieres, Cody Buckawing, Jacob Jansons, Jason Kaus, Brian DeLucci, Stark Maximum, Jimmy Scott, Dan Holm, Mike Miller-Burned, and the Beast Father, Aaron Goodwine. Thank you all so insanely much for your generosity. I quite literally could not do it without you. And with that, that's everything, right? And if you want to email us, it's dorks@themanapool.com. There, that's everything. So with that, we will be done. So this has been episode 495, oh my god, of the Manapool. Thank you all so very much for listening, and go play some Magic.